Yang Yue had recently moved to a house near the riverbank in Sishui. His study overlooked a desolate wasteland, and beyond the courtyard walls lay a scattering of ancient tombs. Each night, the sound of the wind rustling through the poplar trees filled the air, as haunting as the rushing waves of the sea, never ceasing. One late night, as Yang sat alone by candlelight, listening to the trees sway and the wind moan, a feeling of deep sorrow washed over him. Suddenly, from outside the walls, he heard a woman reciting mournful poetry. In the bleak night, winds blow in reverse. Fireflies brush the grass and cling to my veil. The verses were melancholic, repeated over and over again, and the voice was soft and haunting, clearly that of a woman. Suspicion stirred within Yang. The next morning, he ventured outside the wall, but there was no sign of anyone. The only thing he found was a purple ribbon, tangled among the brambles. He picked it up and placed it on his windowsill. That night, around midnight, the same sorrowful verses echoed through the night once more. Curious, Yang climbed onto a stool to peer over the wall, but as soon as he did, the voice abruptly stopped. It dawned on him that it might be a ghost, yet despite this realization, he felt strangely drawn to her. The following night, Yang hid near the wall, waiting. Just before the first watch of the night was over, a woman slowly emerged from the overgrown grass. She leaned against a small tree, her head bowed as she sorrowfully recited the same lines. Yang coughed softly, and the woman immediately vanished into the brush. Determined, Yang stayed hidden under the wall. When the woman's recitation ended, he responded with 2 lines of his own. Who can see the bitterness within my heart? My green sleeves shiver under the pale moon. A long silence followed. Disappointed, Yang returned to his room. But just as he sat down, a beautiful woman stepped inside. She adjusted her clothes and bowed, saying, "You are truly a cultured gentleman, yet I've been too timid, hiding from you." Yang, delighted, invited her to sit. She was slender and frail, her body so thin it seemed she could hardly bear the weight of her clothing. Cold air seemed to cling to her. Yang asked, "Where are you from? How long have you lived here?" The woman replied, "I'm from Longxi. My father traveled often, and I followed him. I fell ill and died at the age of 17, over 20 years ago. My tomb lies in this wasteland. The nights are so lonely, as if I were a wild duck, separated from the flock. The verses I recite are my own, born from the grief and bitterness I feel. I've tried for so long to complete the poem, but failed. Your additions have brought me solace, even in death." Yang, smitten with her, tried to embrace her. But the woman frowned and said, "I am a ghost, not a living person. To join with me would shorten your life, and I wouldn't want to cause you harm." Yang, realizing this, stopped his advances. Still captivated by her, he caressed her breast, surprised to find that it was as firm as that of a maiden. He then lifted her skirt to examine her feet. She laughed, saying, "You are quite persistent." Her feet were small, wrapped in white silk stockings, but one was tied with a purple ribbon, while the other was adorned with a colorful string. "Why is one foot without a proper ribbon?" Yang asked. "When I fled in fear last night, I must have lost it," she replied. Yang smiled and said, "I found it." He handed her the purple ribbon he had picked up the previous morning. The woman looked astonished and thanked him, replacing the string with the ribbon. As the night progressed, they talked about poetry. The woman, who introduced herself as Lian Suo, turned out to be witty and intelligent. She read books, played the lute, and even taught Yang how to play chess. Their companionship deepened over time, and although they never consummated their relationship, they became as close as husband and wife. One day, a friend of Yang's, Zhu Sheng, came to visit. Yang was asleep, and Zhu noticed the lute and chessboard in the room, both things Yang had never shown interest in before. He also found beautifully handwritten poems in a feminine script, piquing his suspicion. When Yang awoke, Zhu questioned him about the lute and poetry, but Yang dismissed it, claiming they belonged to another friend. Unconvinced, Zhu pestered Yang, who eventually confessed the truth about Lian Suo. Zhu, fascinated, demanded to meet her. Despite Lian Suo's warnings to keep her existence a secret, Yang reluctantly agreed. That night, when Lian Suo appeared, she was furious. "Didn't I tell you not to speak of me to others?" she scolded. Yang explained that Zhu had insisted, but Lian Suo was unforgiving. "Our connection is over," she declared before vanishing. Desperate, Yang searched for her for weeks, but she did not return. He grew pale and thin with regret, barely eating or sleeping. One night, as he drank alone, Lian Suo suddenly reappeared. Tears streamed down her face as she silently stood before him. Overjoyed, Yang asked, "Have you forgiven me?" Lian Suo sighed, explaining that a cruel ghostly official had forced her to become his concubine, something she found intolerable. She begged Yang for help. Although Yang wanted to fight the ghost for her, he realized he could not. Lian Suo told him, "Tomorrow night, I'll meet you in your dreams." The next day, Yang followed her instructions and waited for her in his dream. When she appeared, she led him to a courtyard where they confronted the ghost. A fierce battle ensued, and with the help of Yang's friend Wang, who appeared in the dream, they managed to defeat the ghostly official. In gratitude, Lian Suo gifted Wang a jeweled dagger, which had been buried with her in her tomb. Yang and Lian Suo's relationship resumed as before, their nights filled with poetry, music, and chess. Months passed, and one evening, Lian Suo shyly confessed that if she could absorb more of Yang's vitality, she might regain her life. She explained that after their union, Yang would fall ill, but medicine would cure him. Yang agreed, and they consummated their relationship. True to her word, Yang fell gravely ill but eventually recovered. Lian Suo told him that if he saw birds singing near her grave 100 days later, he should dig her up. Yang followed her instructions, and on the 100th day, he exhumed her tomb to find Lian Suo's body miraculously preserved, still warm. She was brought back to life, and from then on, they lived together as husband and wife.